Back in 2016, I was with a group of business people on the island of Haiti who had an incredible heart for children. They were building orphanages, and for me, it was like, I got to do something. I can't just observe and not do anything. And I began to talk to some of the local leaders there in Haiti. And finally, one of the leaders stepped forward and said, "Mark, we don't need any more orphanages." And I was stunned. And they said, "Mark, do you realize that 75% or more of the kids in each of these orphanages have at least one living parent, and many have two living parents?" So they said, "No, they're not orphans because they don't have parents. They're orphans because their parents can't afford to take care of them. And so they bring them to the orphanage in hopes of a better life." And what I came to discover is that definition of being an orphan wasn't just confined to Haiti, but that it was a global phenomenon. So I paused and I said, "Well, if you don't need more orphanages, what do you need?" And he said, "Mark, we need jobs. If our parents had jobs, they wouldn't have to turn their kids over to orphanages and hope for a better life." I realized in that moment that if we cared for society's most vulnerable, children, the elderly, that we would have to help families flourish in order to respond to the need. And at that point, I returned from Haiti and began to talk with some of my colleagues and figuring out how can we move this forward. And one thing led to another, and we launched within that coming year our first international foray into entrepreneurial training. And so that first training, we trained 15 local business leaders there in Haiti and 35 entrepreneurs back in 2019. And I can still remember the pounding rain on the tin roofs as we were training. And just the absolute hunger, the voracious hunger and desire to move towards that better life. I think from the very beginning it was important for us to have authentic relationship with people. Rather than coming in as we've got all the answers and we know what you need, the very first thing we do is we sit down and we listen to what their vision is. What would it look like if there was a thriving community of businesses here, where people were ideating, exchanging ideas, and resourcing one another to grow these businesses? And from that point, as we talk to them, we realize that they can tap into the local infrastructure of successful business women and men to come and to be mentors to the new businesses that are starting up. And so indigenous leadership, making sure that they were empowered, that they were just given the tools that they need. And within the year, through relational networks, we began getting invitations into different countries. In 2020, we launched another program into Ecuador, Quito, Ecuador. We had 25 business mentors that stepped up and leaned in and said, "We want to help our community prosper." And when we launched, there were over 35 entrepreneurs that were present there in January 2020. One of the entrepreneurs that was present in that initial training in Quito, Ecuador was a woman named Maria Angela. She was a Venezuelan immigrant who had come over, relocated to Quito, Ecuador. She had this idea for an ice cream and confection business. She just loved the idea and began to draw up plans, was working with her mentor and the entrepreneurial community, exchanging ideas. 3 months later, COVID hits. And so they began ideating. It wasn't just that, "Oh, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be." It was, what else can I do? And so she began to think about, well, what are the resources and skills and experiences that I have? It turned out back in Venezuela that she used to be a nurse. So she and her husband ended up opening a medical clinic in the middle of COVID. And it took off like gangbusters. So really amazing, and again, just speaks to this ability to pivot of innovation and new ideas and how they can lead to ventures that serve the local community. Just in the past month, we've had 3 invitations, one to work in Ukraine, one is to work in the country of Dominica, and another one is the Philippines, and all of them are ready. They're saying, "Come, would you help us?" And for us, the great need is how do we create greater capacity and infrastructure? So many of our entrepreneurs that enroll in these programs, they aren't looking for that handout. They're simply looking for a hand up. They're looking for an opportunity to move towards that better life. Baked into every one of our business plans that emerges from these entrepreneurs is this concept of giving back to the local community, of figuring out what are the ways that we can help one another grow and flourish.